Step 2 to identify appropriate consequences and follow through is staying consistent with your responses. Predictability builds trust, and trust reduces resistance. Children thrive on predictability. If your responses change from day to day, your child won't know what to expect, which can lead to more testing and more frustration. If your child learns that expectations aren't always enforced, they may start testing boundaries even more. Consistency matters because it teaches your child what to expect when you give a demand. It reinforces that you mean what you say and you say what you mean, and that follow through is not optional. And it also reduces power struggles by making boundaries feel stable. So, for example, if sometimes you follow through on bedtime rules, but other times you let it slide, your child learns that pushing back might change the rule. Some of the most common struggles that parents have with consistency are exhaustion. Some days it just feels easier to give in. There's guilt. You don't want your child to feel upset. Or you prefer to avoid a meltdown. Sometimes it's just simpler to let things slide. But it is important to remain consistent because that is what creates long-term behavior change. So to help with this and to make consistency easier, set clear expectations. Be specific. Instead of saying, be good at the store, say, stay next to the cart and use your inside voice. Start small. Focus on one expectation at a time before adding more. Create routines. Routines remove the need for constant decision making, making consistency easier. Use visual or verbal reminders. A picture schedule or a morning routine reduces the need for repeated verbal instructions. And give yourself some grace. Consistency does not mean perfection. If you slip up, acknowledge it and get back on track. The effort you put into consistency today makes behavior more manageable in the future. And step 3 to identify appropriate consequences and follow through is handling resistance while holding boundaries. Pushback is normal. It does not mean that the boundary isn't working. Children naturally test rules to learn what is negotiable and what isn't. How you respond in these moments determines whether they learn to respect boundaries or keep pushing against them. The way to respond to resistance without the power struggle is by staying calm. Your child mirrors your emotions. If you remain neutral, they are more likely to regulate themselves. Validate their feelings without changing the rule. For example, I know stopping screen time is hard, but we are all done with it today. Offer a coping strategy. If emotions escalate, model deep breaths before expecting compliance. You can also avoid negotiation loops by not engaging in the back and forth arguing. State the expectation, hold it firm, and let your actions reinforce that boundary. You can also follow through even if they protest. Boundaries don't disappear just because they get upset. Over time, this consistency reduces that resistance. Now, it's important to know when and how to be flexible. To do this, consider situational factors. If they're overtired, transitions might be harder. So adjust how you support them while keeping expectations in place. Adjust for developmental readiness. If an expectation causes repeated distress, start with a smaller goal and build up from there. You can also use temporary modifications. If they refuse socks but you need to leave, let them carry them instead of wearing them immediately. This reinforces the expectation while allowing flexibility. Now, flexibility is not the same as giving in. Adjusting expectations in a structured way helps your child succeed while keeping long-term goals intact. Now, to sum it up, step 3 of the instructional control loop is follow through, and it's what brings everything together. So remember, reinforce appropriately, stay consistent, hold boundaries while supporting emotions, and use structure flexibility.